All right. So welcome everyone. Yes, yes, yes. So I know both of you ladies, and I'll just let you unmic and introduce yourselves when it comes to it. So hello, hello, hello. My name is Dr. Andrea Diaz, President of American Management Leadership by Design, and welcome to AMLD's Women's Leadership Academy. Day one, identifying your leadership call sign. And let me tell you a little bit about American Management Leadership by Design. We are a management consulting company that specializes in training and developing women, helping them to give them the tools to control their future, overcome imposter syndrome, help manage their intellectual assets, and to dominate in their respective profession. And boy, am I so super duper 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 excited today for what we're going to talk about. So this is, I think this might be maybe like two or three more people, but as I said before, people are going to catch the replays. So I'll tell you what's happening today. We have a welcome, we have a meet and greet. I'll let you guys unmute and talk a little bit about yourselves. We're going to discuss the importance of leadership, the various leadership styles. What can you influence? Like, what is your span of control? What really can and can you not influence as a leader? We're also going to talk about the various facets and aspects of emotional versus social intelligence. Both of them are super duper important. We're also going to talk about leadership metrics and the future. So I just can't wait to hear how you're going to be able to apply all of this information. And so let's get to know each other. I don't know why I this picture cracks me up every time I see it. So let's get to know each other. You know a little bit about me because it's an intimate setting. Let's hear a little bit about you. Just have to on mic. So give us your name, your location, and any accomplishments you want to share with the group. And I'm going to go first to Miss Kim Roberts, and she hopped on first. Go ahead.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So my name is Kim Roberts. I am in Houston, Texas. Um, I've been working with the federal government for 24 years. I am the chief of budget, my budget section. So I oversee a team that makes sure that the operations of our budgets are strictly put together and everyone is held accountable to the actual schedules of the expenditures. Outside of that, I am a U.S. Army veteran. Also, I own two businesses. I'm in the process of trying to develop two more, so I'm very busy. One of my businesses is a travel business, and the other is a professional services. In a professional services, what I did was take my expertise from outside of my actual job and started my business to help individuals, organizations, and small businesses to develop and monitor the execution of their own personal operating budgets to help them stay on schedule and hopefully become debt free. Also within that business, I do notary on all levels. So from general notary to e-notary, remote notary, and I actually got my certification. So now I am doing loan signing. So that's a little bit about me. I hope I didn't hold y'all up, and I'm gonna go back on mute because we're getting ready to start my appointment.
Oh, no, great. Thank you. And I want to say congratulations, by the way, and thank you so much. Miss Allen, go ahead.
Hey, how's everyone? My name's Kara. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. I am a mom of three millennial-ish, grown-ish, adult-ish children. I have two grandchildren also. I've been a personal stylist for 19 years now. I was trained by Stacy London of What Not to Wear and Carla Mathis, who's one of 20, I think, image masters in the world. I went to George Mason University for my communication degree. I've also been a notary signing agent for 8 years. I was a real estate agent for 2 and I didn't like it. So I transitioned into the loan signing, and that has brought me much freedom and just fun interactions with people. So that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Okay, I was making sure I wasn't on mute. Awesome. Wonderful, ladies. I'm so excited, and we're about to have some fun. So I want to say we're going to start with saying calling all lead hers is my plan words, right? Calling all leaders. And we're going to talk about what leadership is. And so, this is a really important time. I think more than ever, women are now in demand as leaders more than ever before, I think, historically in society. And I think that's an amazing thing that we have coming up. And the wonderful thing is that more and more women are becoming entrepreneurs. And with that said, women now have the ability to build their empires. And I say build their empires, but along the process of building their empires, they also have to understand that, you know what, when you think as an individual, and I think as a leader and a business owner, there are two different ways of operating. And so we're going to talk about leadership. Leadership is about personal and professional growth, and leadership is only in one facet of one's life. And the reason why I say that's important is because women are natural leaders, if you ask me, because a lot of them are in charge of the homes. A lot of them are running the homes, and so you have to have certain skill sets to run the home. But what happens is a lot of women have, I like to say, they experience something called cognitive dissonance, where they're saying, that a lot of them have difficulty shifting their mindset to say, you know what, I am now the president and CEO of my empire, of this organization. And being the president of the CEO, I have a fiduciary responsibility to move the needle forward for my company, to make sure that we are fiscally sound for years to come, that we are growing for employees, that we can offer tuition, matching. We have a 401k, and things like that. And so there's a different way that you operate, that you move, and things like that. But in order to understand leadership, or the different facets of leadership, we have to talk about the various principles. But anyway, just know that you are a professional. Okay. And so, the one thing I want to say is that you have taken that step. You have taken that step to become the leader in your own right. And leadership is not telling someone what to do, and it is not about positional authority. And I want to say that again. And I know that Clubhouse has really put us to where, every time, even if I'm on prayer line in the morning, I want to hit the mute button. I want to clap my mics, because that's how much we're programmed from Clubhouse. But I want to say that leadership is not telling. Again, I'm going to say leadership is not telling people what to do, and it is not positional authority. And I want to explain the difference between leadership versus management. Leaders and managers are completely different and are mutually exclusive. And with that, what I mean is that managers are concerned with doing the right things, which is really has a relation to efficiency. But leaders are concerned with doing things right, and that's effectiveness. And I'll say it again. Managers are concerned with doing things right, efficiency, and leaders are concerned with doing the right things, which is effectiveness. And also, don't be fearful to delegate, and do not be fearful to ask for help, because a lot of times, people think, if I'm in a position of authority, that I should be able to do everything. And I should, but that's not what leadership is. Do not be afraid to say, you know what, this is something that you should handle, because it may not necessarily be a good use of your time. That's number one. Number two, if you are not delegating to your team members, or if you're not moving things off of your plate so you can drive the business, and you're trying to do everything yourself, then you might have a control issue. Just putting it out there. And make sure that you do not do busy work, because I spoke to a woman, and on a session, and she was telling me all that, I do this and I do that, and blah 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 blah, and she's telling me all the things that she's doing, and she's trying to start her business. And I have an accountability coach, and I said to her, well, when are you going to stop talking to people and start getting some work done? So make sure that as a leader, that you are not doing busy work. And if you have to be hands-on or micromanaging, you either do not have the right staff in place, or you need to relinquish some responsibility. And so take a very, very close look and decide which one it is. Only you will know what is right for you. Also, I would like to say that leadership is a process of influencing others to understand and agree about what needs to be done and how to do it, and the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. That's like the formal definition of leadership. But also, I also want to let you know that, guess what, ladies, I've said it once and I'll say it again, you are the business. Okay, remember, you are the business. I know we're like, well, I'm building an organization, but what we do sometimes is that we hide behind things. So because we don't want to be seen or we don't want to be flashy, but remember that you are the business, you are branding, you have to move the needle forward. Also, as I said before, title does not equate to leadership. Okay, it is not positional authority, it's nothing like that. You can be a leader and not have a title behind your name. But more importantly, I do want you to be that leader. You know, being assertive, and I'm sure you ladies have experienced this. Being assertive does not mean that you're mean or there's anything wrong with you. But at the same time, if you have an opinion and you need to move the needle forward, it is your responsibility. If you're taking on the helm of being a leader, you're taking on the helm of running a business. We want I want you to become that Fortune 500 company, and so you actually have to walk the talk and be that leader and make some hard decisions and steer that ship. Don't let someone else steer your ship. You steer your own ship. Do not be a manager. All right. And oh, and by the way, do not spend time on things that do not add value for you. And when I say that, that's not always monetary value, because again, we can become distracted by the day-to-day minutia. And although those are very important things, as a leader, leaders are visionaries. I'm going to say that again. Leaders are visionaries, and they're seeing 10 years down the line. You need to move that company to that vision that you see 10 years down the line. Okay. Up next, we're going to talk about the various leadership styles. What's your style? Well, I'm going to say that in terms of style, fashion style, Miss Allen is amazing. I just want to say that, and I love your stuff. But anyway, um, um,
Thanks.
yeah, it's, you make me want to up my game for sure. So we're going to talk about the various this
I'm
the
here for
style.
you. I'm here for you.
Thank you. We're going to talk about the various leadership styles, right? And so, these are not all encompassing, but these are the most widely used or looked at, or things like, that kind of stuff. And so we're going to talk about, so you have servant leadership, transformational leadership, situational leadership, democratic, laissez-faire, autocratic, charismatic, and strategic. Now, the one thing that I have down there, which is absolutely true, that one size does not fit all. And I will tell you that it is totally expected and to use more than one leadership style, because not one leadership style is going to always fit every situation. But usually, people have one, maybe two they pull upon, but not usually more than two. Anything over than two, that means that you don't really understand who you are, or you're not you don't really understand leadership. So let's start with servant leadership. Servant leadership is pretty much what it sounds like. This is where the leader puts the needs of the people first, as opposed to, or the agenda and the needs of the people first, as opposed to the needs of the individual. And this resonates with a lot of people, because especially since I think I've heard it a lot, especially since 2020, is that people are looking for leadership and authenticity, and I deal with servant leadership because I think it's something where people are saying, what are you going to do for me? I mean, of course I'm going to do something for you, but what am I going to get something? How are you going to reciprocate and make it better for all, as opposed to just for the masses, as opposed to the few? The next leadership style we're going to discuss is called transformational leadership. And this is one of the really the most effective leadership styles used within the past, I'd say, 20 years. And transformational leaders inspire their staff through effective communication and collaboration. And this initiates a path of success. They set challenging goals and have higher expectations, for their employees. But you know what? They meet them, because they're able to connect with their employees so much, is that the leader can set the bar so high. They're like, you know what? Like someone like a Steve Jobs would have been known as a transformational leader. You know what? This is what we're going to grow Apple to. This is what we're going to do. You, at first glance, you say to yourself, how in the world are we going to get that done? How in blue heaven's name are we going to get that done? But you find a way to make it happen, because you know why? Because they saw the challenge and they're like, you know what? We believe in that leader so much that we're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen, because we believe in the overall vision, mission, and this is greater than us. That's why it's one of the most effective leadership styles. The next leadership style we're going to discuss is called situational leadership. And situational leadership is just that. It depends on the situation. And this leadership style of the individual depends on the situation and or variables at play at any given point in time. I am not a fan of situational leadership because, in theory, it sounds great, but if you change your leadership style too much or you change your approach too much, then you start to lose credibility with people because they're going to say you're not consistent. We don't understand, we don't know who we're going to be dealing with that day. And so situational leadership style can be a positive and a negative, really depending on how it's used and implemented. Next, we have the democratic leadership style, which is also also another highly effective type of leadership style, and it's also known as a participative leadership style. And leaders who often use this ask for help or collaboration from their subordinates. Women typically use this type of leadership style more than others because women like to collaborate. I'm not saying that they want to. I'm not saying that democratic women who use democratic leadership style don't make a decision because they make a decision. They just want to know what your input is. And so a lot of women also feel very comfortable with this type of leadership style. But again, it also depends on the culture that you've instilled in the organization or the culture that you've walked into if you haven't created your own culture, and how do you manage that culture with that type of leadership style? Um, Now, also in terms of the democratic leadership style, this leadership style usually reports higher levels of job satisfaction, and the company can benefit from individualistic creativity. Because then someone's like, you know what? I feel like I can go. Kim is going to be open to. She may not necessarily agree and take the idea, but at least I feel like I can go to her and at least broach the subject with her and have an open conversation and not feel like I'm going to instantly be shut down. Those are the kind of people, those are the kind of things the subordinates, the perspective that the subordinates would have. And now this decision style involves more than one individual, just with the usually making the decision or helping to make the decision, which can slow down the process. So you don't want to be stuck in analysis paralysis where you just keep thinking and thinking and going over topics and you're like, well, how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do that? And this person has an opinion. And so sometimes, you have to say, you have to just, just say, well, that's enough. And this is a hard deadline. We need to move and pivot, and we need to be adaptive and agile. Up next, laissez-faire. Oh my stars. This is probably one of the worst leadership styles that one can have. It literally means, and I don't know if you ladies know any French, but it literally means let them do in French, which means it's like whatever it is, it's like que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. Um, and it's terrible because the leader leaves the basically gives no guidance. It's almost like well, we're just gonna throw the cards out there and see how it happens, and whatever happens, it's all right. It slows down the decision making process. People become very frustrated with leaders who are like this because those types of leaders are indecisive. They drag their feet, and they don't hold people accountable. And so it really is not a great leadership style. And people who use this are really the most criticized by definition because of this as a leader, because of their inability to gather the reins and hold people's feet to the fire. So if all the leadership styles we're going to talk about today, stay away from that one. Okay, autocratic is next. I know this is a lot of information, but you have to understand the concepts to understand where you fall in. So now we have autocratic leadership style. And as the name suggests, the autocratic leadership style is the extreme one person show. No democracy there, right? No democracy in the autocratic. It's my world, my decision, this is the way it goes. Autocratic, also known as authoritative leaders, take control of the staff and are really and rarely accept or consider employees' views or suggestions. Ruling, with that iron fist, and staff do not respond well. You can say staff rarely appreciate it. They just don't appreciate it because people are human beings, and people want to feel, they spend so much time working and hours working for you. They want to feel that at least their contributions matter and that at least you care for them at a basic human level. And the autocratic work environment rarely has any flexibility. It's you come in, this is the way it is. If you need to work from home, too bad, because this is a, it's really challenging, especially after 2020 with the pandemic, because people have lives, they have home care, they have children. Flexibility is a must, and the need is at an all-time high more than ever. All right. Charismatic. Ooh, the charismatic leadership style. And this is one that really relies heavily on the positive charm and personality of the leader. It sounds good in theory, but it's not really great in application. So, because all that person is doing is like showing you how awesome, and look at me, wink, wink, but they're not really, putting their money where their mouth is. They're just making you feel good and woo you and excite you, but they're not necessarily moving the needle for the company. And lastly, we have the strategic leadership style. Strategic leadership is another commonly effective leadership style. This leadership style involves a leader who is essentially the highest authority of the organization. And strategic leaders are not, however, limited to the top authority of the company. They include a wider audience at all levels who want to create a high performance team, a performance life team or organization. And this is because of this approach, this is one of the most desirable styles of leadership. So I'm going to take a second. We're going to pause, and I want to let you ladies unmute. Tell me your thoughts. Kim, or maybe Kim can't respond. Kara?
I thought I wanted to be a charismatic till you said what it was. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool, but then, oh, you don't want anything for it? Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's really great to really get people like on board, like hyped up. You know what I mean? But it's not necessarily the one that's going to say, hey, we have these goals, strategic, short-term and long-term goals. How are we gonna, move in the market? How are we moving? They're more like, hey, the photo op, type
So
of leaders.
Tony Robbins, basically, is that what you're saying?
Okay. So, okay. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Got you.
Okay, good. So yeah. So servant, transformational, and strategic are usually the ones where people respond to the most, because it's really about taking into account the situations of others and how it's going to impact them and all of the company and how it's going to impact society and blah blah blah. And they take a more robust and holistic view of things. So they're usually the ones that do well. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about influence. How far is your reach? So, what is your level of influence? And I want to say just almost anything, right? If you're the president and CEO, and if you're the leader, okay, your influence can really go as far as only, okay, this goes into my saying where it says you're only limited to your imagination and your ability to execute. And the thing is with leadership, I'll tell you the secret: if you do it right, you can almost influence anything and everything. Hear what I mean? Resources. Obviously, the resources, and when I say resources, we're talking about the allocation of resources. Who gets what and how much of it are we getting in? The employee skill sets, you determine, you set the tone and the bar for people coming in. So as a leader, if you say that I'm going to accept mediocre employees, what you're saying is that I, as a leader, accept mediocrity. I'm going to say it again. If you, as a leader, are going to accept mediocre employees, what it's ultimately saying, and you're not holding people accountable and things like that, what you're ultimately saying is that I, as a leader, accept mediocrity. Now, if that's the message you're giving to others, how can you hold people's feet to the fire, and how can you run your business to be competitive with others, right? If you're not doing it right. As a leader, you influence confidence, not only the confidence of yourself as a leader, but the confidence of the people who follow you. Because when people feel empowered, think about that time, because very few people have started their entrepreneurial journey from day one. Think of that time, and I hope that everyone has had at least one person in her life that has inspired her to want to do more and be more and achieve more. That person who took a chance on them and said, oh, I see the greatness in you and the greatness that you can share with others. That kind of confidence. And when you feel that, you know what, my boss is going to do anything and everything to help and support me, although you're not always going to agree with me, I'm going to do anything and everything I can to help support that boss. We've all had that experience at least once. We also, as leaders, influence strategy, right? Where are we going to, where are we going to spend our money? How are we going to, how are we going to expand in the market? How are we going to increase our the number of followers? And how are we going to take those? How are we going to convert those followers into sales? How, what pitches and promotions do we have over the next 60 months, 90 months? How are we going on television? How are we affecting the strategy, right? Then we talk about retention, which is super duper important. I know you might say, "Oh, I know retention is important," but let me explain to you mathematically. If your thing is about numbers and about dollar amounts, let me explain to you the cost of turnover or the lack of retention. Think of the time it takes to educate. I think they say that a company spends roughly $15,000 to $20,000 bringing an employee up to speed when that employee starts a new job. Now, if that employee you're not, so unless that person's like in sales or something like that, that person is not bringing in money right away. So think about the money that you've laid out up front for that employee, and then if that employee decides to leave, guess what happens? You've now spent that money and you have not received your return on investment. So it is better for you to get the right employee the first time, because if that employee stays with you, you will earn your money back. So then you have, so that, and think about it, every time you have to bring on someone new, you have to bring them up to speed. You have to get them onboarded. You have to get their I-9. You have to do this. You have to do that. So in the first 2, 3 weeks, are they actually producing anything? Are they bringing in money, or are you just trying to get them on board? Think about it, right? Then we talk about growth. Well, guess what? You might have a target market, but anyone who knows who's worth their salt will tell you that you need to grow continuously. You need to be offering different products and services. You need to have your ear to the pulse to what's going on, to say, what do people want? Because you know what happens sometimes as leaders, we're in our ivory castles, and then we have something called hubris, which is our ego. And we think we know what people want because we got comfortable and we made some money and we're like, oh yeah, we think we know what you want. And then all of a sudden, our sales, we start seeing the metrics, right? And our sales are not necessarily climbing. Not that everything can climb forever. And we're noticing a trend. And then what happens? You're responsible for growth. You're responsible for pivoting your company. You're responsible for the livelihood of people going forward. Because because small business is the backbone of the U.S. economy. Lastly, we're going to talk about finances, right? Judge Judy, one of my favorite people, she said, "Romance without finance is a nuisance." Okay, so you have to influence finances. You have to make sure that there's money coming in. And then if you're not selling a product, well, is there an alliance you can take advantage of, or is there a grant you can be taking advantage of, or is there some? What are you doing? Because if you're expecting, because when you take on the endeavor of a leader, and especially as a woman entrepreneur, everything begins and ends with you. No one else is going to take that responsibility. You decide to run the business, you decide to come and boss up, and this is why you're here today, right? To make sure that you have everything in place so you can make sure that not only do we have the infrastructure that we need to survive and to grow, but we also have the financial backing. And because here's the thing, you cannot cut your money close to the edge. And you know this, you need to have that buffer, and you need to have that little thing where you could be like, woo, this was a rough quarter, but we made it, right? You have to be a planner. Up next, we're going to talk about emotional versus social intelligence. Do you have any questions, Kara, Kim? On Mike, you can say yes, no.
No, ma'am.
Not so far.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to keep it moving to emotional versus social intelligence. Emotional versus social intelligence. I wish that more women understood how to use emotional intelligence. This is probably one of the most valuable tools. Not just, I know I said I want women to learn this, but any men and women. To be successful in business and to be successful in life, you need to have a handle on emotional intelligence. And so, I actually coached someone the other day and I said, Whether it's working with someone like me or working with somebody else, if you don't get a handle on your emotions, you're going to have a hard time. And that's just the reality of it. No one wants to, I mean, everyone has a bad day, we get that, but no one wants to work with someone that you're scared of walking on eggshells. And so emotional intelligence really is one of the most underutilized tools on the planet. And really, a very crude and rudimentary definition or understanding of emotional intelligence, what I like to say is not about what you want, it's about what the other person wants or needs to hear. And I mean that in the most basic way. And I'm not saying this in a manipulatory type of way, but I can say, um, Adam, you did a good job, but I didn't like what you did in that project and blah, 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 blah. So if I'm giving feedback to Adam, all Adam heard was that I didn't like the job that he did. He didn't hear that I said that he did a good job previously, right? So I'll just give you an example of when you're talking to someone and you're giving feedback, there are three words that you need to eliminate from your vocabulary. Those three words are but, although, and however, because those three words will negate anything that you said previously. You did a good job, but, right? So you don't hear about the good job you did because as soon as you hear that but, everyone gets that pit in their stomach and they're like, oh, here comes the stab. Here comes you're just gonna, rake me over the coals or whatever the case may be. So eliminate anything and there's a simple word that you can replace those three words with that will give you the desired effect. And this is such a simple adjustment. You would be amazed how that communication will change. Can you ladies guess what that word is? Nope. Okay, so I'll tell you. The word is and. Replace but, although, however with and. I'll give you the example, same example with Adam. Adam, you did a good job, and there are a few things I would like you to change going forward. That changes the complete dynamic of the conversation now. So Adam's going to say, yeah, okay, I did a good job, and here's some feedback, and I just want you to make some adjustments, but no harm, no foul. Everything's great. Keep it moving, and let's all have a good time. Just using the word and changes literally the physical response that the person's going to hear, because when they hear, because they're expecting the other shoe to drop. They're expecting to hear something bad. And if you just change that with some emotional intelligence with that one word and you did a good job, and I would just like you to make some changes going forward, and then I think we're going to have a rock star day. Simple, right? Very simple. Also, with emotional intelligence, do not get stuck in your emotions. If it's something that they always say, like, count to 10 before you respond, or walk away from an email if you're upset, come back the next day and read it, and maybe cooler heads will prevail. Because when you respond at that moment, that's how you're feeling at that moment. We know this, right? But if you just wait a little bit and you say, you know what, maybe there's a better way to handle this. You'll see how much you'll see, because as a leader, the truth of the matter is that you don't necessarily have the luxury of having a bad day because you're a leader. So people are looking at you, and people are not only they looking at you, they're observing you to see how you're going to handle certain situations. And then what they're going to do is emulate what you do in that situation. So you are setting the example for them. Excuse me. So if you want to create a culture where feedback is received well, you have to create the culture with the words that you use. And so I want to say, it's not enough to just understand emotional intelligence, but it has to be managed by all parties. And so what a great thing is that if you have the ability to have your team go through emotional intelligence training, you will be so much further ahead of the curve, because part of a culture is the storming and the norming and the forming and all those things. But if everyone can get a basic, and I'm not saying that everyone needs to be kumbaya and hugged up and all sorts of wonderful things, but if people have a basic understanding and everyone knows and understands how to use the rules of engagement, it will make for a much better organizational culture, and profitability and productivity and synergy and all sorts of wonderful things. And so emotional intelligence is also an awareness of self and also a social awareness. whether you believe in the vaccine or not, or the masking or not, there was a woman, I think she was in was I want to say Wyoming or Wisconsin, and she was coughing on produce and customers still to this day, like over a year after the pandemic, and she was like, doing this, and she was fired from her job and everything else. And so my whole point is that she had a, regardless of your position, she had a basic block against social awareness, if you understand what I'm saying. Like she didn't understand, she real, or maybe she did and didn't care, but I'm going to say that I don't know if she understood. I don't think she would have done it if she thought she would have gotten fired from her job, kind of thing. So she really missed the social cues, because here's the thing: we live in a society where they're going to trace back where you work. All you have to do is go on LinkedIn. If you make a LinkedIn profile, you'll see it right there. Where you work, the optics of that company. They're going to say, this is the kind of person that you employ. And what people don't realize is that 99% of the companies around this country are employment at will. So they can fire you at any given point in time. And so she was clearly missing the social awareness of what her actions would do, um, also known as common sense, right? She wasn't applying any common sense. And my grandmother used to say, common sense isn't common; it's very special. And it took me a while for me to understand that. And when I did, I said, wow. I mean, a lot of people don't have common sense, and so that's unfortunate. So what's changed? And
Common
so you
sense is also a flower that does not bloom in everyone's garden.
say it again. Wait, no, say it again for me. I missed the first part.
Common sense is also a flower that does not bloom in everyone's garden.
There you go. Right there you go. I mean, who I agree. Yes, absolutely. So as a
Why
leader,
would
you
you go
always
in a grocery store and cough on freaking food? I mean, she's lucky nobody punched her out or did anything
she's
crazy to
very
her.
she's very fortunate. She was very fortunate, and I said to myself, my goodness. I mean, she and it's what she doesn't understand is that even though technically by law a company cannot hold that against you when you're applying for another job, they're just gonna Google you and they're gonna say, oh well, we found another qualified candidate. But you can't legally prove, like, you don't have the deep pockets to prove that you were more you understand what I mean? Like your ignorance has really just gotten you good for the long haul.
I mean, but look at the lady who in Central Park made a fit about that guy with the dog. And then they fired her, her company fired her, and she has the nerve to go back and sue somebody. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no,
Are
it's
you kidding me?
yeah, and to be indignant about it on top of that, right? As opposed to say, you know what, that wasn't a good look, or even if you didn't believe it, to be indignant, like you're just like digging your heels in even more. Like, good luck to you. So so always look about, always look at what's happening in society. Talk to your employees, find out what's going on. Take a survey. Just get, what do you think that we can do better? Make it anonymous and tell them it's 100% anonymous, um, you know, because you want to create that environment where people want to work for you, right? You want to create that environment where people are banging down their door to say to work for you, because they're saying, you know what, you're such an awesome boss that I would do anything for you. All right. Now up next, we're going to talk about leadership metrics. All right. Metrics, KPIs, key performance indicators. Ladies, you need to get metrics all the time, every time. We're talking about, or also known metrics, also known as your analytics, right? That's what they call it. The nice thing about most social media platforms and things like that, they already give you the analytics built in, so you can access that information fairly quickly. But really, what you need to know is, how do yes, you're being measured on how well your company does and the type of growth, and did you meet your financial goals. By the way, ladies, you should have monthly and quarterly financial goals. And the reason why I say this is that if you don't have, you need that financial goal so you can adjust your methodology of how you're going to approach clients in the future. And it's not just one of those things you're like, well, I'll get to it. You need to have metrics and goals, and really run your business. And if you're not familiar with project management, ladies, become familiar. with project management, because the one thing as a leader is that you don't have the luxury or the ability to plead ignorance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that only works for a little bit, but if you're taking the helm to be a leader, you have got to get smart on what you need to know. That means getting into the right program, getting the education you need, talking to the right people, you know, whatever it is that you need to do to build your empire and build your empire smart, that's what you exactly need to do. So let's talk about, performance. How well are we growing? Did we get more employees? Did we not only did we do sales, did we get more employees? Did we grow our, did we get more reviews this month? Not just more followers, but are we getting people writing reviews about the work we've done? Are we getting all things that people, you know what? I just took one. I just took one person because I just all I need. I just took one person. I said, hey, by the way, this is what someone did for my, that said about my masterclass. Boom. You just need one. You need to, so people can see what you can offer them. Show them things that they understand. Talk to what matters to them. Although you're the leader, but if you're meeting your ideal client, you have to talk about what things, their pain points, and how it matters to them. So let's talk about preparedness. How are you going to have growth? How are you going to have the continuity of the culture? Meaning, what is your succession plan? Because it cannot be where your business is set up and that, because look, oh gosh, what is his name? He just passed away. Tara, what is that designer who just passed away? It's a famous designer too, from France.
Which one? What? Uh,
There's a
it was a guy or a girl?
guy. It was a guy. It's a thin, skinny white guy. I don't remember. Not too
Karl
long ago, he passed
Lagerfeld?
away. Anyway, it was a famous designer.
Was
Older
it
gentleman.
Karl Lagerfeld? Karl
Yes,
Lagerfeld?
yes, I think so. Yes. And so he passed away, but had like this wonderful clothing line, and his stuff is still there. His designs are still living on. Who's that guy that was killed? His sister, Versace, Donatella Versace. Like, his designs and his legacy is still living on well after him. And so how are you gonna continue to have your stuff, thriving, not only surviving, but thriving after you decide to retire? How are you going to make sure that the culture that you so carefully created is going to be sustained in the future? You know who did a great job at that? Jack Welch from GE, right? He did, he was known for going on the factory floor and wearing the jumpsuit of the workers on the factory floor and remembering every name of every person on that floor and was, and he made sure that the person that took over when he left, they had the same shared vision, mission, like he made sure that this is the way I like it and this is the way I want to see you continue it. He made sure that I'm gonna sustain the growth of this company as long as I can. Also, other things you have to be concerned about are external and internal factors, and there are things that you can't even begin. Like who could even have conceptualized COVID-19 over a year ago? I couldn't. I couldn't. I could not at all. I could not at all. Um, you know. And by the way, I know it sounds very basic, but I just want to ask: are you making money? Yeah. Performance and growth of leaders of a group of organization. You have to know. You have to ask as a leader: are you making money? Yes, sir. Do you have a future business plan? Or do you have future business plans at all? By the way, ladies, like you should always have future. I'll tell you this. I spoke to a real estate individual, and she was saying, I said, do you have a strategic plan? She's like, yeah, I have a strategic plan. And I was like, so you have future business plans? She says, yeah, I have business for August, and I said, okay, well, what happens in September? Because she said she had a mentor and things like that. I said, well, what happens in September? And she didn't have any business plan. I said, so you realize that your mentor doesn't care about you, because if he did, he would have made sure that yes, he has other people he's mentoring, so he's going to get his money regardless. But you doesn't look like you're going to get money for September. What's happening there? This is how we're talking about the leadership mindset, because you're waiting for someone else to take care of you. No, 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 no. And I want to ask you, what is your operational and strategic plan as an organization? Yes, ladies, you are the organization. Again, understand it, embody it, believe it. You are the organization, right? Preparedness also also deals with crisis, challenges, and crisis. How are you going to make sure that that you have you have taken account the safety of your clients? How are you making sure that you've taken into account the safety and well-being of your employees? And how are your employees taking care of your clients? Just because you think a certain and act a certain way doesn't mean that your employees are acting that way. How are you making sure that your customers are happy or that they're receiving the best client customer service that they could receive? Hmm? How are you ensuring that? How are you ensuring satisfaction as a leader? Think about it. And what is your follower commitment to the group objectives? And there's a psychological well-being and the development of followers. So there's a whole lot of things going on, and that's under the KPI, key performance indicators, satisfaction, commitment, and well-being. Do we have any questions, ladies?
No, not at the moment, but it's great information.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a hard time finding the mute button. Worse than on Clubhouse. Like, where's the freaking mute, man?
Yeah, Zoom is a little bit different. That's what happens. You've been on Clubhouse so long, you just assume that the same functionality applies everywhere. So, okay. And so now we're going to talk about, I always say the future is female. I know that this is something that is trending, but it's not necessarily just trending. It is something that's happening. It is something that is happening. More and more women are taking that step to become those leaders and awesome things that that really people have learned that they could do more with less. And now they're saying, you know what? I'm going to take that step, and you're not gonna tell me that I can only do this or I can't do this. No one's going to put a limit on me. As I said, you could bring in $2 million of sales for somebody else, or you could bring in $2 million of sales for yourself. This is only the beginning, ladies. This is only the beginning. So let's go into the Q&A. And then day 2 is talking about letting go of limiting beliefs. And then I will talk to you about the guest speaker. So let's, at this point, unmic, let's talk about any questions because we have 10 more minutes before the guest speaker comes in. And really, you're going to be, I think you're going to be more than happy with him. So ladies, Kim, I'll let you go first.
Sorry if you hear the machines in the back. I really don't have any questions. I do believe that today's information has given me some things to think about in regards to like the performance and the statistics and just the actual growth of my business. One of the things that you spoke about in regards to like the one individual that you say the mentor was failing them, but she hadn't planned for the following month. I have at one point that was me. I was going month by month. And I think it was just either showing excitement if I had a little something extra this month than last month. But now I've gotten to the point where I've actually moved up to at least 6 months at a time. And I'm actually hoping to be able to project out a little bit further. But I'm just in year 1 of being an entrepreneur. So I'm still learning a lot of things. And that's what I'm hoping to gain throughout this leadership course. So I actually appreciate everything that you're giving to us on this Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Good. I'm so excited. Yes, listen, I'm a complete fan. And this, especially year 1, your first year is your hardest year. I want to say your first year is your hardest year. It gets better after year 1. And the reason why I'm going to say it gets better, hopefully for you, and a lot of people it gets better after year 1 because you've learned, you've gotten your sea legs, if you understand what I mean. You've gained that confidence. And this is why I created that program Beyond the LLC for women because they register the company, they get their EIN, and then they don't know what to do next. They don't know. They're like, I know I need to scale. I'm like, scale what? So anyway, so wonderful. Miss Kara Allen, any questions from you, my dear?
I think I'm good so far.
So
I haven't, trust me. I'll be like, wait, no, go back, rewind. I'm good.
Okay, you're so funny. Okay, awesome, great. And so our guest speaker
Can I ask a
is,
question before he come
yes,
in? I'm
yes, go ahead, go
sorry.
ahead. No,
I don't know if
you
this
have
is the
9 minutes.
appropriate
No, we have
time.
9 minutes before he comes in. We're good. This is why
Okay.
I have this window so you can ask any questions you want and not worry. Yeah.
Okay, so in regards to like this training here, we're in on today. For those individuals that missed, or say like tomorrow at this time, I'll be on a flight.
Okay.
So where will we find the recording? Is it on our dashboard?
Yeah, yeah. And actually there's a section called replays.
Okay,
And if you scroll all the way down past day 4, you'll see a section called replays, and it's actually
okay,
dating. And you'll
uh,
see it, so you'll see it uploaded there, within 24 hours. It's usually within a couple hours of, of it ending, but we just say 24 hours so people don't have a stroke. But yeah.
okay. And my second question is there another way that we can get access to the Facebook group? Because I tried from the link in the
Oh, did you put the
email.
request in? Did you put the request in?
Well, no, I tried the link that was sent in the email and it just idles. It won't open
Okay,
up in Facebook.
I'll have Sam resend that information, and just to double, because those links change, they could break or whatever. But yeah, I'll have her double check, and we'll follow up with you for that one. I said
Okay,
give us
thank
a couple hours.
you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So let me tell you a little bit about Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland really is probably one of my most favorite people in the world, I have to tell you. He is so smart that he's that kind of individual that he'll say something and he'll say it so nonchalantly, but he would have gotten you. He does one of those little, like, he's a zinger person. He says that zinger thing, and you're just like, and if you're not paying attention, like, I mean, did you just say, like, that kind of thing? So he's a he's a really funny person. So let me tell you a little bit about him before he comes on. So Dr. Gary E. Woodland is currently employed as a employed by the Department of the Army, where he is a human resource specialist and program manager. And in his role, he serves as an advisor to senior leaders in areas of talent management, people strategy, leadership development, and workforce transformation. He is a faculty member of the University of Phoenix, where he facilitates course instruction in both the online and ground campus platforms. He teaches a myriad of courses in the human resource and business management disciplines. Dr. Woodland retired from the Army in 2016 after 21 years of the military. He served in multiple positions of increasing complexity at division, Army Secretariat, and Army headquarters levels. He is a combat veteran of the Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns. His military awards include the Legion of Merit and the Bronze Star medals. He holds a Horatio Gates Medal for distinguished service as an HR professional. Wait, there's more, okay? Dr. Woodland holds a Doctor of Philosophy from Capella University, a Master of Business Administration, and a Master of Science in Human Resource Management, both from the University of Maryland, College Park. Dr. Woodland is a member of the Human Resource Management SHRM Society, Warrant Officer Association, and Academy of Management. And in support of his community, Dr. Woodland continues to do volunteer work. And he is a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And areas of concentration include strategic leadership, program management and planning, organizational transformation, analytics and problem solving, community activism. And he is here. So hold on. Let me just put him in. And actually, let me do my stop share and let me bring up his information. He has his own PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. All right. Oh, you know what? I need to hold on. Let me